There is also this drop site news, No Other Land 2024 document directed by a Palestinian Israeli collective, highlighting the Palestinian resistance against Israeli military occupation and settlement expansion in Masafar Yatta, West Bank, has just been nominated for an Oscar for Best Documentary Feature at the 97th Academy Awards. Now, this is a unique moment where I have not one, but two documentaries that I am in the tank for. Okay. Oh, Union is not nominated? Never mind. Okay. Well, then this is the one that we're going for, boys. Let's watch.
1,000 Palestinians face one of the single biggest expulsion decisions since the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territories began.
هاي قصة عن القوة.
أنا اسمي باسل.
مسافر يطا هي المكان اللي كبرت فيه. بداية تصويري هي بداية نهايتنا.
جرافات؟ أنا متعب خير.
This is the movie that kicked off the German apartheid incident. I don't know what that is. Is that the one where they got sued by the Berlin festival or something? And like one of the makers of this documentary is Jewish, is Israeli. The other is Palestinian. Less than 2 hours after this film was nominated for an Oscar for Best Documentary, the IDF invaded Basel Adra's village and started searching homes. From my experience as a former IDF soldier, this looks like a lot of the common IDF command, demonstrating our presence. Yeah, I think it's just to apply pressure and to say, like, you're done, you're cooked. 4-person team, 2 Israeli, 2 Palestinian young people. They filmed this under harrowing circumstances, literally, I mean, understandably. And I'm pretty sure, oh, yeah. This is the clapartheid. Okay, now I get it, what you meant by the clap apartheid. Okay. Yes. So what happened is the German minister tweeted that she clapped only for the Israeli and not for the Palestinian. Like she had to come out and release a statement saying she clapped after this, but specifically for the Israeli. The moral bankruptcy of Western leadership in full display because of Palestine. It's one of the most insane things that I have encountered. And I think partially it's become more glaringly obvious because of the reality that like more people are familiar with what's going on now. And I don't mean politicians, of course, because politicians are fairly knowledgeable on what goes on in Israel. Right? They just choose to actively undermine the truth. But now that more of the public is aware of it, now that they are familiar with it, it has caused politicians, I think, to panic. It's caused politicians to panic and oftentimes genuinely showcase their moral ineptitude. It's not just Islamophobia, but in Germany, there's a healthy dose of that, obviously. For Germans, it's a totally separate set of standards. I think there is just a spiritual problem in the hearts of modern Germans in general. So I think like Germany is in a unique case in and of itself. I've talked about it extensively time and time again. I don't even want to get into it right now, but I think it's like collective guilt. Wait, hold on. It's German collective guilt, not really learning the lessons of the Holocaust adequately. I think allowing Nazis to control especially Western Germany in the Reconstruction period, led by Americans allowing that to happen. Like there's so many different issues there. But yes, I'm gonna do IRL in a moment. Hold on. I'm waiting. This is funny. This is a funny take on American politics. Choosing between Lockheed Martin and the Ku Klux Klan every 4 years, back and forth until the asteroid comes. That is a fantastic way to explain American politics. They made the full film available to watch for free on the local call website, but you need to use a VPN to Israel-Palestine. The movie's incredible and documents the hotspot of ethnic cleansing that is Masafar Yatta extremely well. I can link if you want. Highly recommended. I don't think I would need a VPN. I think I could probably, if they want wide distribution of this, if they want eyeballs on this, I'm certain that they wouldn't have an issue if I watched it. And I would be willing to watch it. Where are you streaming from? I'm in Tokyo right now. But yeah, Al Jazeera also released a documentary and includes clips of Sinwar in the front lines of Gaza. I saw that, Yahya Sinwar. And that one is also especially interesting because the Yahya Sinwar situation is especially interesting because Israel routinely lied and said like, oh, he's chained with like 20 Israeli babies around him, like at all times, so that Israel doesn't kill him. And I always thought that was laughable for two reasons. One, because it demonstrates its projection, as always, as the case always with Israel. It's projection because like that's basically an admission that that is what like Benjamin Netanyahu would do if the roles were reversed, or Israeli leadership would do that if roles were reversed. And the second thing that I always thought was really funny about that lie was the idea that like Israel would be above killing 20 of its hostages if they 100% got an assurance that Yahya Sinwar was at a location. Like, what gave you that idea that Israel cares about Israeli hostages? They have made it clear time and time again throughout the last 16 months that the hostages were actually an obstacle, okay? A mere hurdle to clear. And the hostage families were a nuisance, being annoying out in the public. How dare they demonstrate? Benjamin Netanyahu used the Lebanese incursion invading southern Lebanon to literally stop protests in Israel. He used that as a reason to stop all gatherings for more than like 10 people in Israel for a period of time. So in the endless well of depravity that is Israeli politics, I always thought it was really funny where there was this notion that Yahya Sinwar was in a bunker somewhere safe, and safe and sound with like 20 hostages, like protecting himself. He's selfish. He does not care about the lives of Palestinians in general. This is a common attitude that many people initially had in the aftermath of October 7th, specifically a lot of like more liberal Zionists, both in the United States of America and certainly in Israel as well, where it was like, oh, Hamas doesn't care about the safety and security of Palestinian citizens. Obviously, like, you don't understand. If they did, they wouldn't put their lives on the line. They wouldn't bargain with them. Meanwhile, Israel was the one that was killing the Palestinians. So I always was like, okay, if that's the bargain, then, peaceful conciliation in this situation would probably immediately lead to a revolution against the leadership, right? That's what would happen. If people would far prefer Israeli leadership, the Palestinian people, I mean, especially in Gaza, to Hamas, then yeah, they would, if Israel just didn't kill a bunch of Palestinians, maybe they would revolt against Hamas. Now, it was probably a major own goal, right? When Israel actually, in the ways that it often does, tried to humiliate Yahya Sinwar and humiliate the Palestinians and humiliate the Palestinian resistance once again by showcasing his final moments and his dead body and all this stuff. Meanwhile, it made it impossible to propagandize him as a coward because it went against all of the previous things that they had said about him, that he died fighting, till the very last breath. Like, he literally lost his arm to a tank shell, and they didn't even know that they had killed him. So they ended up martyring him further. I mean, it's just, this is unstable in general. Like, Israel's, like, no fascist leadership can ever maintain stability because there's a constant outgroup that you must be battling, right? And that's why everyone always says correctly that fascism is a death cult. It's a suicide cult. But even if it wasn't the case, like, Israel certainly is going through that same exact process right now, where they're actively trying to propagandize in a certain direction and just failing to do so.
في صوت بيطلع، يعني مش ناس قاعدين، يعني فيش بني ادمين.
شو دخلوا؟
This is what's happening in my village now. Soldiers are everywhere.
By the way, just so you understand, even the Jewish Israeli filmmakers are putting themselves in harm's way in that situation. When they're the ones who are also filming, like, the IDF obviously pays more attention and is more careful with the way that they deal with the Israeli citizens that, placed themselves in between the IDF and the Palestinians in the West Bank. But even then, it's no different than a cop. You know what I mean? In the United States of America, maybe even more dangerous in some instances.
بعدين انتوا بتيجوا تزوروني مش انا بزوركم ولا لا؟ ولا شو تفكر؟ لو انت مكاني شو تفكر؟
What are you talking about? Italian fascists live for 20 years. It only disappeared because of the war. Same for Spain. Fascism is not racist itself. Wait, what? Fascism, what? Fascism, it's not racist itself? What are you talking about? Italian fascists live for 20 years. It only disappeared because of the war. First of all, it's pretty funny to say that fascism disappeared in Italy when, Maloney is your leadership currently. And the notion that like fascism can exist without inevitably collapsing is a shocking thing to say unless you are a delusional fascist. It can be extended with a lifeline, oftentimes with international support. And I wouldn't say that it will collapse in and of itself without any resistance, but these kinds of actions actually create resistance inherently, understandably, just like October 7. Because when you show people that there is no peaceful path forward and that you are going to, you are just simply going to keep killing them over and over again in this like slow death spiral, in this slow burn, of ethnic cleansing, then yeah, inevitably people are going to understand that lesson and be backed into a corner and realize that the only way they can get out of it is by fighting out of that corner. Our fascists all agree with colonialism and seeking to colonize the Mediterranean as a place to deport poor southern Italians, often, as is the case in Libya, Somalia, Albania, and so on. Italian fascism is inherently racist and colonialist, even if it didn't have the same racial ideas Germany had. Yeah. There is a structure of in-group and out-group and a mythological nationality that must be preserved under fascism. And more often than not, it is built around an intractable quality, an unchanging quality, whether it be your ethnicity, whether it be your religion. Like, that's how it works.
The massive movement
All right, we're going to get to Gaza.
Palestinians back to northern Gaza is continuing. Hundreds of thousands have made the journey now, it's estimated, on foot, in cars, or by donkey and cart. What they're returning to is this: total destruction. A grey wasteland where the only thing that has survived are the memories of life before the war. But it's home, and it's better than the squalid camps that they've been forced to live in for months.
We're walking around now, and I don't recognize any of these streets. Where are we? We keep asking each other, where are we now? But it's fine. All that matters now is getting there.
Our team in Gaza went with Haneen back to her home in Jabalia, an area of northern Gaza that was the focus of very heavy fighting in recent months. She tried to stay. She didn't want to leave, but in the end was forced to move south. What she has returned to is scarcely believable.
I'm in a state of shock that I cannot translate. I'm unable to express my feelings. I'm shocked. You see here, this window, I used to put pots of basil and mint. Look at it today. What are we looking at? See that apartment there? All men living in that building were killed.
On her phone, Haneen has pictures of home before the war, of Ramadan feasts and happy times with family. Family members lost in the fighting, who will never sit round the dinner table together again. Finding clothes that had to be left behind in the rush to flee the guns and missiles is a brief moment to smile. And her daughter's toys, Mira's teddies, the little objects of innocence that might just help a young mind briefly forget horrors that will last now a lifetime. Aid is now surging into Gaza. In 1 week, double the amount of food that was delivered in the whole month of November last year. and it's making a difference.
What we look now in terms of what is the ceasefire window of opportunity, we maximize what we can get to ensure population are not facing shortages.
First came the ceasefire, and then the return home. A resumption of the fighting is unthinkable, but not unimaginable. The truce remains as fragile as life in Gaza itself.
Yeah, look at all this fighting. Like fighting, war. These terms imply that there is at least like two state actors at play here, or at least there's some semblance of parity between the two organizations. It's not. I mean, you can see it. This image, just this image, or any image from Gaza will immediately dispel that notion. Immediately. You know what I mean? You can't say it's a fight. You can't say it's a war when, you know, instead of bullet holes, what you see are entirely destroyed buildings. This is a massacre. This is a genocide. It's pure and utter annihilation.
Alistair Bunkle, Sky News, in Jerusalem.
So that's the situation in Gaza, you know, and it happened under our watchful eyes with complete media blackout. And here we are.